I started working on this series just over 2 years ago, and it actually began as two separate ideas. Firstly, I was wanting to make an entry for the Archibald Prize, which is this famous portrait painting prize hosted at the New South Wales Gallery in Sydney. So I started going through my list of possible sitters or subjects, and I was especially interested in those people I knew who worked in creative fields like theatre or pottery or other painters. And I started to talk to many of them and arrange sittings so that I could sketch them from life and get to know a bit more about their creative process and about their inspirations. At the same time, I was and still am very interested in stories about changes in nature. Animals either going extinct or making a comeback, and even invasive species. And I started doing a lot of drawings about various creatures which would be likely to do well in a sort of post-apocalyptic world, like spiders and snakes, which already live fairly close to human beings in urban areas, as if they're waiting for those humans to leave so that they can come into their homes. And I had images of vines and tree roots coming into these homes as well in this imagined future. At some point, I started drawing these insects onto the people, and it seemed like there was a nice interaction between the two ideas. So artists usually make things to be seen by multiple people, giving them a form of omnipotence. And also, if you believe that the artist puts a piece of themselves into the work, then it could be seen as giving the artist a false sense of immortality. Now, if you contrast the images of these human creators with images of these resilient insects and animals, then it could be seen as a reminder that nothing is forever, and even after our work is gone and no people are around, that these other life forms will still be around, these creatures that have been on this planet for hundreds of millions of years and will be around for much longer. In fact, the first painting that I did in the series, which is not part of the final series, was actually a landscape formed out of hands, where it seemed like the human hands were fading into the landscape almost like fossils, and the insects were waiting to emerge from the shadows. And I used actual spiders and scorpions on the canvas, which got some very interesting reactions from people who saw it up close in real life. My background is actually in advertising, but I've always craved to make tangible things with my hands, like my grandfather and father who also paints. So this fascination with the craft side of creation, the physical production, is why I focus so much on hands. That and the fact that they are so expressive and so essential to the process. Whether you are playing a musical instrument or directing a play or making a piece of pottery, the hands are really the way that you leave your mark and express yourself. This series was actually meant to be displayed at the Gaffer Gallery in Sydney this month in April, but it has been postponed, along with other art exhibitions and live performances. But I think that the relevancy of the work has actually been heightened, with us being reminded about how vulnerable the human species can be. But it's also a time to think about many people working in creative fields, like some of my subjects, and the long-term effects that this situation will have on people working in the arts. I hope that this video adds to your understanding or appreciation of the work, and that you will look at them for a little bit longer. And when the live show does eventually happen, I do hope that you can come along and look at the works in person.